Good morning, boys and girls, and happy Friday to everyone. This is your weekly announcements. We've made it through 3 weeks of virtual learning so far, so kudos to all of you. Also, today happens to be the last day of the third marking period, so I hope everyone worked really hard when we were in school and the past couple weeks while we've been virtual learning. Also, next week happens to be spring break, so I hope everyone takes this opportunity to take a much-needed break away from their tablets or away from their computers and have a nice break. And I hope everyone goes outside, and I hope they enjoy time with their loved ones, and I hope they take this opportunity just to have some relaxing time. So don't forget that spring break starts from this upcoming Saturday, so tomorrow's our last day, so Saturday up to Monday, April 13th. And if you do decide to go outside, I hope everyone still keeps in mind to social distance and to make sure that they wash their hands when they go back into their house. Now on to some birthdays. We have a lot to celebrate from this week, and I'm also going to be announcing next week's birthday since we won't have virtual announcements next week. Please don't be so sad about that. So on March 28th, we had 2 birthdays, and the first one was Manuela Cano Sanchez from Miss Peso's room and Mariana Ribeiro de Souza from Miss Saluga's room. On March 29th, Samantha Garcia from Mrs. O'Grady's room celebrated a birthday. On March 30th, Gina Alves from Miss Crawford's room celebrated a birthday, as well as Elijah Capetillo from Miss Almeida's homeroom. On March 31st, Paula Toral Cordero from Miss Hogan's room celebrated a birthday. And on April 1st, we had a couple of birthdays, and the first one is Emily Correal Solis from Miss Almeida's homeroom, Ana Luisa de Silva from Miss Saluga's homeroom, Julie Oliveira de Emerin from Miss de Silva's homeroom, and Gabriela Rojas from Mr. Mazel's homeroom. And on April 2nd, Alvaro Bonilla Mejia from 6th grade celebrated a birthday from Miss Almeida's homeroom, and our very own Mrs. Dietz, who's our gym teacher. She also, in my humble opinion, if you've been following our Washington School Instagram, beat Mr. Cord in our push-up contest. But that's just my vote. On April 3rd, Brianna Stephanie Perez from Miss Almeida's room celebrated a birthday. On April 4th, Kelly Talapta-Totoli from Miss Comer's room will be celebrating a birthday, as well as Adriana Zapata from Miss Frankino's homeroom. And on April 5th, Jonellis Aristi from Miss Balthazar will be celebrating a birthday, and Maria Camilo Zuniga Perez from Mr. Postal's homeroom. And also, that happens to be our very own Miss Dinkus' birthday, and I hope she has a lovely birthday. And on April 8th, Diego Ayoso from Miss Stanley's room is celebrating a birthday. And on April 9th, Samuel Cano Sanchez will be celebrating a birthday from Miss Bellinger's room. And on April 10th, John DeLauro from Miss Hornung will be celebrating a birthday, as well as Jean V.A. Miranda from Miss De Silva's room, and Juan Tavares Solis from Miss Weiss's room. And on April 11th, Sebastian Tokski from Miss Saluga will be celebrating a birthday. And on April 12th, Jamil Mendoza from Miss Saluga's room as well will be celebrating a birthday, as well as Sofia Oliveira from Mr. Clapsy's room, Angelina Ramirez from Mrs. Crawford's room, and actually, Mrs. Crawford would also be celebrating a birthday, so I hope she also has a spectacular birthday as well. And finally, on April 13th, Brianna Jaramillo Pereira from Miss Hill's room will be celebrating a birthday. So those are all of our birthdays we'll be missing while we be away. And I just want to make sure that everyone feels super special, and I hope they have an awesome birthday. And now on to some shout outs. I got lots of shout outs this week, so I'm really excited to announce all of those. So the first one comes from Mrs. Bellinger, and she has 2 shout outs, and her first one is going out to Mrs. Varela. And her shout out to Miss Varela is that Miss Bellinger has felt so incredibly grateful for all the help that Miss Varela has been giving her to get Miss Bellinger's kids to be set up on Google Classroom and to help translate emails and make phone calls for Mrs. Bellinger. She really appreciates all of her help. Also, Mrs. Bellinger wanted to give a shout out to her kindergarten grade partners, which are Mrs. Balthazar and Mrs. Stanley. She said that she would be lost without the 3-way phone calls and all the help and support she's been getting from them. I got another shout out from Mrs. Peso, and she wanted to give a shout out to Mrs. O'Grady for helping her out and role playing as a student on a Nearpod lesson that Mrs. Peso wanted to launch to her students. I saw the great work that Mrs. Peso and Mrs. O'Grady have been doing with Nearpod, so it seems that it have worked to do that role playing. So kudos to both of you. Also, I have a shout out from Mrs. Hill for me. So it's kind of odd to be shouting out myself, but I'm going to do it. And she said, shout out to Miss Alfaye, which is me, and for going above and beyond my duties as a school counselor. Miss Hill believes that that she's safe to say that she speaks for everyone, students and faculty, and saying that we are extremely thankful for all that is being done to keep us connected at Washington School. As hard as the time is, Miss Hill knows that she would feel much worse if we didn't have the positive thoughts and videos being sent her way and everyone's way. And thank you. So thank you very much. I feel really humbled by that comment. So it makes me feel really happy. So thank you very much, Miss Hill. I have another shout out from Mrs. Smith from pre-K, and she wants to give a shout out to Mr. Silva and to Mrs. O'Grady for all the help that they've provided to help her set up her Zoom classroom. Her students are loving it. The students love seeing Miss Lucia and Mrs. Stahl on Zoom too. Mrs. Smith also wants to say a huge thank you to the families and the students who have been sending pictures and videos for our school Instagram, which, by the way, is at Washington School NJ if you don't follow us already. She loves seeing all of those pictures and videos. This next one is from Mrs. Biondo, and her shout out is going out to Mrs. Ruthman, to Miss Weiss, to Mrs. Hornung, and to Miss Von Kaplan for just being awesome. And I would have to concur with her with those shout outs. And on to some Friday funnies, and this is how we're going to end our virtual announcements this week. And our first one comes from Ashley Moreno from Miss Ricka's class from 4th grade. And her Friday funny is, last night I dreamed I was eating flannel cakes. When I woke up, my blanket was gone. The next one comes from Emma Ramirez from Miss Hornung's 1st grade class. And her Friday funny is, what do you call a deer with no eyes? No idea. Our next one comes from Mia Moreno from Miss McColl's 4th grade class, and her Friday funny is, a Mexican magician tells the audience he will disappear on the count of 3. He says, uno, dos, poof. He disappeared without a trace. I think I did good on that one, right, guys? Our next one comes from Jaden Olivo from 6th grade, and his Friday funny is, what do you call a snail that drives a boat? A snailer. I have a couple from Brianna Jaramillo from 6th grade, and her Friday funnies are, why did the meatball tell the spaghetti to go to sleep? It was pasta's bedtime. The next one is, what do you give a lemon when they're sick? Lemonade. And her last one is, what's a cat's favorite color? Purple. I got a couple more for you. Got to keep you entertained while I'll be away next week. From Mrs. Comer, where do cows go on a Friday night? The movies. Duh. And her last one is, what day of the week are most twins born? On Tuesday. And finally, from Miss Almeida is, which state is considered the smartest? Alabama, because it has 3 A's, which I hope all of you get on your report cards when they come out for marking period 3, if not all A's, but I'll take what I can get. So don't forget that the talent show will hopefully premiere tonight. I'll be working on that to make sure that it'll come out to you guys tomorrow, or today, that is, when this airs. And don't forget that virtual school starts again on Tuesday, April 14th. I hope that everyone takes this time to recharge. And as always, don't forget that I love you, your teachers love you, and that Washington School loves you. That's it for this week.